Howdy folks, I'm Bright Bergonia, begrudgingly bribing bratty bears.
I'm Amber.
And here are more bratty bears for us to bribe. It's not so much that they're bratty as it is that they're con artists that are extorting you for your petals. Be careful out there, folks. Be careful out there. Let's get started. Alright folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Refusing to Cook for My Sister's Wedding After She Called My Food Trashy? So, I'm a 32-year-old female and I love to cook. It's my passion and I'm pretty good at it. Or, so I thought. My sister is a 29-year-old female and she's getting married soon and originally asked me to cater for her wedding as a gift. We talked about menus and everything seemed great until last week. During a family dinner, which I hosted, she tasted one of my new dishes. She made a face, pushed her plate away, and joked right there in front of everyone that my food was trashy and not wedding material. I was crushed. My family looked shocked, but no one said anything. Later, she texted me not to apologize, but to ask if I still wanted to do the wedding for exposure. Honestly, I lost it. I told her if my food was trashy, she needed to find a less trashy chef for her big day. Now my family is split, and some are saying that I overreacted and sabotaged her wedding over a comment. Am I the jerk here? Should I just swallow my pride and cook to keep the peace? Alright folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. You don't need to cook for someone who calls your food trashy. And in fact, I would recommend not cooking for her, because if she's like tearing apart your food now, what's she going to do at the wedding?
Yeah, I mean, if everything isn't absolutely perfect, I'm afraid of what she's going to do at the wedding. Is she going to throw a fit? Is she going to continue to berate you, insult you for years, saying how terrible of a job you did?
Berate you in front of the guests?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see that going well. It sounds like the sister is trying to bully OP into OP's already doing it for free, but the whole well, do you want to do this for exposure type of thing? It's just, I think she was trying to get a gift out of OP too on top of that. And
I don't know. I feel like she was just trying to rub it in OP's face about how much of a favor she was doing her to have OP cook for her. And I think it seems like she really has a poor idea of the power balance here, right? She thinks that she is the one who is has the power and she can bully OP around.
Well, that's the thing. First of all, it doesn't sound like OP is trying to start a catering business to begin with. Secondly, unless she's mega famous, it's not like it's going to mean anything in terms of exposure. Oh, well, my sister made my food for my wedding is not the flex she seems to think it is.
Exactly. And that's kind of what I was saying. Now, I do question why no one in the family stood up to her when she started berating OP at dinner.
Well, and that's another reason not to make food for the wedding, because if no one stands up to her now, no one's going to stand up to her at her wedding, of course, and everyone will just be like, well, it was her wedding, we couldn't say anything.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to deal with it, OP. We know how she is.
Yeah. So I think that OP would be best to just graciously decline here and say, I'm sorry, I don't want to ruin your wedding. I know that you have high standards, so you probably should find somebody else. I'm doing you a favor. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Goose Pills says, I want to know what you made. And OP replies, I tried making seafood paella for the first time and got a little adventurous with the spices. Thought it added a nice kick, but it turned out more intense than I expected. Everyone else seemed okay with it, but my sister made a point to tell everyone how bad it was. She used her joking tone, but I'm pretty sure she meant it. And BitBat Gaming says, not the jerk. It's often told, don't bite the hand that feeds you. And Wino12312 says, I don't understand people who don't get this. You can't insult someone and then expect the relationship to remain the same. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Telling My Dad That There Will Be No Making Up for Missing My High School Graduation? I'm an 18-year-old male and I'm graduating high school at the end of this month. My dad dropped the bomb on me 2 nights ago that his stepdaughter, a 14-year-old female, has an award ceremony for some competition that she entered and won in another state on the same day, and that she really wants him to be there. He told me that he couldn't possibly make it to both since his wife and their child will together be going. He needs to be there too. He told me that he would make it up to me and we could celebrate at another time. I still live with him, not for much longer. My mom died when I was 7 and my dad got remarried again when I was 11 or 12. It's been a few years anyways. His stepdaughters never knew their bio dad, so my dad has accepted her as his own. And he has prioritized her a lot in the last 5 or 6 years. It doesn't always show in the most obvious ways, but it can be felt. Father and son time was put on an indefinite hiatus. Instead, he told me that we needed to include her in our time together, but he also spent time with just her for her father-daughter time. I brought it up to my dad, and he told me that I wasn't exactly making an effort to be closer to her, so he wanted us to all bond and didn't want me just to be focusing on my relationship with him. He has attended her dance things instead of my basketball games if they're on the same time. It doesn't matter if mine was known about first, he will still skip my stuff to go to hers. He will take us on family days, and whenever he and his wife say that the kids can choose, he picks her choices over mine. He claims that it's because they will be the most fun for everyone, but really, and he even says it afterward, anything for his little princess. Our refrigerator and shower broke on the same time. His stepdaughter's birthday was coming up, so he took money from my birthday fund to pay for that stuff, and so his stepdaughter would definitely get what she wanted. This Barbie house thing, and a whole fashion set, and they were, I think, $250. He didn't get all of the money back by the time my birthday came around, so instead he bought me a $30 gift card for Steam, which he has promised me, Winnie has promised me a new monitor and keyboard. That was a gift from my grandparents. When my dad told me that he would not be at my graduation and go and support her, I told him that there's no making up for that and he can forget about being included in my life going forward. He told me that he would make it up to me, and I told him that I will always come second to his little princess, and I'm not going to be okay with that. I told him that he's discarded me for the last time. Dad begged me to be reasonable, but I walked away. Then I invited both sets of grandparents, who agreed to come. His wife told me that I could come with them, and I don't need to be attending the ceremony, but I could support my sister. I said that her daughter is not my sister, and I do not want to support their family anymore, and that I will be out of their hair soon. She called me selfish, and told me that I can't deny her daughter and a dad. Am I the jerk? Alright folks, what do you think?
No, definitely not the jerk here. I mean, what the dad is doing is inexcusable. I understand wanting to have good relationships with, stepkids, but he is going in the opposite direction where he's just completely disregarding his bio kid. And like his whole thing about, well, my wife and the other kid are going, so I have to be there too. A lot of times when there are conflicts in families, like two kids have things on the same day, the parents will split and go to, one parent to one and one to the other. And that's how they should have been handling it. In fact, they should even have been trading off so that stepmom came to OPs sometimes and dad went to stepdaughters and vice versa. But instead, what they've done is create a situation where only one child matters and OP is completely disregarded.
Yeah, I feel bad for OP in this situation. I can understand why they've put this ultimatum down, and I do feel sorry for them. I think that it's taken a lot for it to come to this point, and I don't really like ultimatums, but he's also an 18-year-old who's been neglected and treated poorly for a long time, so I can understand where they're coming from here. I think that there probably needed to be some kind of intervention with like family therapy a long time ago, and it's just unfortunate that none of that ever happened because I think it could have been really beneficial.
Well, it could have been, but the problem is the people who would have had to set that up are the adults in the situation,
Well, I'm not saying that OP is responsible for that.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying, like the adults here have just been completely dismissing and disregarding, and they don't see anything wrong with their behavior, and so, which is really, really sad. And hopefully, not having OP in his life will be what the father needs to realize that he's been not a good person. That doesn't mean OP needs to welcome him back, but I hope it makes him realize that he's done wrong.
I think it's a really unfortunate situation, and I just really feel bad for OP, and I really hope in the end that everything works out for the best for them. I do think that their whole comment at the end there that she'll never be my sister is a little harsh, but I can understand his resentment towards her as well. But it's not her fault that the parents are favoring her.
Well, it may not be her fault, but she's also not doing anything to discourage the favoritism.
Well, we don't know that necessarily.
It doesn't sound like
It
Opie
doesn't
doesn't
sound
say that
like it.
she's protesting or has ever done anything to make it equitable. And I know she's 14,
Yeah.
but he doesn't have to value this person his dad has completely discarded him
Yeah.
for.
Well, and she may not even realize it, right? But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Maleficent Ring 7 says, not the jerk, can you move in with your grandparents now? If so, I would, and I would cut your father, aka sperm donor, out of your life, and he can go to a spoiled brat. Sorry, his little princess. And OP replies, I can't until I graduate because they live in another state. And Regular Somewhere 13 says, are your grandparents okay with you moving in? But you can tell them that it's temporary until you can find a college and a job. And tell them not to tell your dad after the fact that you've moved out. You can't convince people to love you, OP. So sorry to say this. Hopefully you follow through if your father doesn't attend your graduation. Best of luck. And OP replies, oh yeah, they were fighting over me, which was just both sets bickering because each wanted me for as long as I was willing to live there with them.
Well, at least Opie has supportive grandparents.
Mm-hmm. Alright, folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Asking My Daughter to Pay Me for Cooking at Her Wedding? I am a 46-year-old female and I greatly enjoy cooking and baking. I've always told my kids that if they have a small wedding, that I would be happy to provide the food as a wedding gift. My daughter, Leslie, is getting married soon. They're having 47 guests in total, so I offered to cook per my long-standing offer and said that I could do something like peppered beef or jambalaya with some jalapeno cheesy biscuits. Leslie and her fiance Will took me up on it and said that they would help buy the ingredients. Leslie sent me some recipes a few days ago, and when I asked what they were for, she said that they wanted to do 1 or 2 big pot dishes that weren't spicy so Will's family could have something to eat. I know that that boy can't eat a popper or most of my meals without getting red in the face, but I didn't think that his whole family was like that. Leslie said it's because his father has ulcers and stomach problems, so Will's family was careful how they ate while Will was growing up. I told Leslie that I already told her what I was cooking for her wedding, and she argued that I'm making it about me instead of listening to what the bride and groom want. I finally told her that I would cook some extra dishes, but if she's going to treat me like a caterer, then I'll need her to pay me for all of the extra prep and work. Leslie said that the gifts are supposed to be what the person who is receiving them wants, and that she may as well hire a caterer if she's going to pay, and hung up on me. I thought Leslie would cool down and come talk to me about how we would handle this and reasonable payments for taking on extra cooking, but my youngest told me that when he went to visit Leslie, she and Will were talking with a catering company. Was I wrong to ask for her to pay me for cooking? Alright folks, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with OP's the jerk here. Now, I understand OP was offering to do this for free, and that was very generous, but she was expecting to provide a meal that half the guests couldn't eat. It's not unreasonable to want to have food there for all of the guests, and it seems like OP is really, really loves making really spicy food and just like wanting to dictate the menu. And at the end of the day, the wedding is about the bride and groom, and so I really think it wasn't that unreasonable and asked to want a couple of non-spicy dishes.
I mean, aren't spicy dishes kind of a faux pas at
Mm-hmm.
weddings anyways?
Cool.
I mean, not to say like that she can't do it, right? I mean, there's all kinds of things that you can do right at weddings, but I thought like spicy foods were one of those ones that you generally kind of avoid at weddings.
Well, I mean, I think it depends on like different cultures and whatnot have different spice tolerances,
That's true.
but where OP knew explicitly that the groom couldn't eat spicy food, like she was expecting the groom to go hungry on his wedding day.
Yeah, I think that was a little bit peculiar, and I understand her frustration with the situation and not necessarily wanting to have the extra work because it sounds like she kind of had this idea about what she was going to cook,
Mm-hmm.
right? And she offered to do this, gift without really thinking what would that involve, it feels like, right?
Right.
And it,
Well,
oh, sorry.
well, I'm gonna, and I understand not wanting to do extra work, but if the daughter was like, well, can you just make the food not spicy? It seems like OP wouldn't have been okay with that compromise either. She
Yeah.
really wanted to make this specific meal.
Yeah. So I really do feel like she's just trying to control the menu as opposed to give her children, her child, the wedding that she wants.
And I think OP is, fine to turn down, doing it, but the daughter has found a caterer now, and OP just has to accept that, that's the daughter's choice at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. And another thing I think is that she could have tried to make a version of the dish without spicy
Hmm.
food, right? And just had all the same ingredients and everything like that because it sounds like it's a rather easy dish to make. So, at least that's the impression I get from her. But in the end, I mean, I guess that's not going to really matter at this point in time because the daughter has chosen a different person to go ahead and make the dinner for. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. All right, folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
Phoebe, hey, there were 16 cookies left in the cookie jar. Now there are only two. How do you explain that? Bob, I don't know. I thought I'd gotten them all.
Well, I guess some of those crumbs in the bottom turned into full cookies. They grew. And I have Earl Grey. And Amber has an announcement to make.
Oh, yes. So, the anthology that I'm in, Writer's Retreat Tales of Writing in Madness, releases today. It'll be available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. My story is called The Spectre of Rejection, and it's all about the joys of rejection with some paranormal twists.
So hopefully, if you like horror and you like paranormal stuff, then you might like this as well. Yeah, so that's again, it's another anthology. So it's Amber's writing amongst some other authors as well, and yeah, we'll leave a link for it. And just keep in mind that if you do click on that link, it's going to be an Amazon affiliate. So any qualifying purchases that you make will give us some small amount of money. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy, wonderful Wednesday, folks. Hump Day, Friday, Junior's Eve. Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it in the form of a haiku.
The old adage says, don't bite the hand that feeds you. Trust this sage advice.
I think that works. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye!